My beloved child, do not look away just yet. The words before you may seem impossible at first. This will shock your family. But I am not calling you to chase a prize for its own sake. I am calling you to consider how deeply a changed heart, renewed hope, and faithful obedience can ripple through the lives of those you love. There is a reason your attention stopped here today. In the middle of all the voices competing for your focus, this moment found you, and I invite you to receive it with an open heart. You may believe you simply came across another message, but I see something more. I know the prayers you have whispered for your family. I know the conversations that ended in disappointment, the misunderstandings that left wounds, and the quiet longing to see healing where there has been distance. I know the burdens you have carried without telling anyone. I have seen your tears when no one else noticed. I have heard your hope, even in moments when you struggled to believe anything could truly change. My child, I have never stopped working, even when my work was hidden from your eyes. Perhaps you have wondered whether your faith makes any difference. Perhaps you have felt overlooked, underestimated, or convinced that nothing will ever be different in your home or in your relationships. Yet some of the greatest changes begin quietly. They begin with a softened heart, a renewed sense of purpose, a decision to forgive, a willingness to trust me one step at a time. Those changes often become visible to others before you even recognize how deeply they have transformed you. Do not hurry past this message. If you leave now, you may miss an invitation to see your circumstances through a different lens. You may overlook the encouragement to keep praying, keep loving, and keep walking faithfully, even when results seem slow. But if you stay, you may discover that hope has not been misplaced. You may begin to recognize that I have been shaping your character in ways that will influence those around you more powerfully than you imagined. Sometimes the most unexpected testimony is not found in dramatic moments, but in a life steadily transformed by grace. Beloved, I know the weight you have carried for those closest to you. I know the names you have lifted in prayer, the relationships you wish were stronger, and the dreams you have nearly given up on. Yet I ask you not to measure tomorrow only by yesterday's disappointments. I am able to bring wisdom where there had been confusion, peace where there had been conflict, and renewed courage where fear has taken root. Even when progress feels slow, my faithfulness has not changed. So remain with me for these next few moments. Quiet the doubts that have been speaking louder than hope. Listen with your spirit as well as your mind. What follows is not a promise of spectacle, but an invitation to discover how my work in your life can become a source of encouragement, healing, and unexpected joy for those around you. This is where the message truly begins, and where I invite you to take the next faithful step with me. My child, there were many moments when the people around you thought they understood your life simply because they could see your face, hear your voice, or watch you continue moving forward. But they never truly saw the pressure you carried inside your heart. They did not see the emotional exhaustion that followed you into quiet moments. They could not feel the heaviness you pushed through every morning just to function normally. You became so used to hiding your struggles that eventually even you forgot how much pain you were carrying alone. I saw every part of it. I saw the nights when your mind would not rest because you were carrying worries you could not explain to anyone. I saw the moments when you smiled in front of people while silently fighting discouragement inside yourself. There were times when you felt emotionally drained, yet you still showed up for others because you did not want anyone to know how tired you really were. You kept telling yourself to stay strong, but deep down you were hoping someone would finally notice that your soul needed comfort too. What hurt you most was not always the struggle itself. Sometimes it was the feeling that nobody fully understood what you were surviving internally. People judged your reactions without knowing your history. They misunderstood your silence without realizing how many disappointments had already shaped your heart. You became careful with your emotions because too many times you opened yourself honestly and felt unseen afterward. So you learned how to carry pain privately, while continuing to appear steady on the outside. But I never intended for you to live weighed down forever. The strength inside you was meant to help you endure difficult seasons, not trap you in constant emotional survival. You have spent so much time managing hidden pressure that you forgot your heart also needs healing, peace, and rest. I am showing you this now because I want you to stop believing that exhaustion is simply who you are. It is not your identity. It is only the result of carrying too much for too long without allowing yourself to be restored. Something is beginning to change within you now. Not through force, not through performance, but through healing. I am slowly lifting the burden you became accustomed to carrying. You do not have to keep pretending you are unaffected by everything you survived. You do not have to hide your emotional weariness from me. I understand every part of your heart, including the parts you struggle to explain even to yourself. And one day, the people around you will notice the difference. They will see peace where heaviness once lived. They will notice a steadiness in you that did not exist before. What will shock them is not only how much you changed, but how quietly the transformation happened. They only knew the version of you that carried invisible weight in silence. They never imagined I was already healing you in places nobody else could see. My child, there were many times when you stayed quiet, not because you had nothing to say, but because your heart had already been stretched beyond what words could explain. People often misunderstood your silence. Some assumed you were distant. Others thought you had stopped caring. But I know the real reason you became quiet in certain moments. You were protecting the fragile places inside yourself that had already been wounded too many times. You learned that not every person knew how to handle your honesty with gentleness. So instead of explaining your pain repeatedly, you carried it inward and kept moving through life with a calm face while storms gathered quietly inside you. I never viewed your silence as weakness. I saw wisdom growing in you through those painful seasons. You stopped wasting your energy trying to convince people to understand your heart when they had already decided to misunderstand you. You became more careful about who you trusted because disappointment taught you difficult lessons. Even when your spirit felt tired, you still chose not to become cruel. That mattered more than you realize. There were moments when bitterness could have easily taken root inside you, but you kept your heart softer than the pain you endured. That took strength far greater than most people recognized. Come closer to me now and stop punishing yourself for becoming quieter. You do not need to feel guilty because you changed after everything you survived. Pain reshapes people. Disappointment leaves marks. Betrayal teaches caution. I understand why you pulled back emotionally at times. I understand why your spirit became slower to trust. But do not mistake your guarded heart for failure. You were adapting while trying to survive emotionally. You were carrying more pressure than people ever realized. Still, I do not want you to remain hidden forever. Open your heart to me again. Bring me the thoughts you bury during the day. Speak honestly with me about the fears you hide from everyone else. You do not have to edit your emotions in my presence. I already know the conversations you rehearse silently inside your mind. Let me walk with you through those wounded places instead of forcing yourself to handle everything alone. There is something beautiful happening beneath the surface of your life right now. While others only noticed your silence, I was strengthening your discernment. I was teaching you how to protect your peace without losing your compassion. One day, your family will notice that you no longer react from exhaustion the way you once did. They will wonder how you became calmer, steadier, and more grounded within yourself. What will surprise them most is realizing that your quietness was never emptiness. It was the place where I was rebuilding you privately, shaping a stronger heart while nobody else could see the work I was doing inside you. My child, there comes a point when the weight you have carried for so long reaches heaven differently. I need you to understand this clearly because you have spent too much time believing your pain was invisible. It was never invisible to me. I watched you continue through seasons that drained your spirit almost completely. I saw how often you tried to remain hopeful while quietly wondering if life would ever become lighter again. You kept telling yourself to hold on a little longer even when your heart felt worn down from carrying disappointment after disappointment. There were moments when you questioned whether your prayers were reaching me at all. You looked around and saw other people moving forward, while you felt emotionally stuck in the same battles. That comparison exhausted you more than you admitted. Deep inside, you began wondering if maybe peace belonged to everyone except you. But I want you to stop thinking that way. Sit with me here for a moment and truly listen. Your suffering never had permission to destroy who you are. I allowed certain seasons to shape you, but I never intended for sorrow to become your permanent identity. The turning point began quietly, not with noise or sudden signs, but within your spirit. Something inside you became tired of surviving without healing. You reached a place where your soul could no longer keep carrying hidden wounds while pretending everything was fine. That moment mattered deeply to me because honesty opens doors that performance never can. When you finally admitted how exhausted you truly were, you made room for me to begin restoring what pain had drained from your heart. Now I want you to stop speaking to yourself like someone abandoned. Stop expecting disappointment before joy even has a chance to enter your life. Lift your eyes again. Breathe deeply again. Allow yourself to believe that change is possible for you too. I know the fear inside you still whispers that things may never improve, but that fear does not tell the truth about your future. I am already working in places you cannot yet see. Your family may only remember the tired version of you. They may still expect you to carry heaviness the way you always have. That is why your transformation will surprise them. They will notice peace returning to your face. They will see strength in places where exhaustion once lived. They will not fully understand how deeply I restored you because much of this healing happened privately between you and me. What shocks them will not only be your growth, but the quiet way your spirit slowly came back to life after everything you endured. My child, there were seasons when the people closest to you believed they knew what you were going through simply because they were near you. They heard pieces of your story. They noticed changes in your mood. They saw moments when you became quieter or more distant, but they never fully understood the depth of what was happening inside your heart. Some of your pain lived so deep within you that even you struggled to explain it clearly. You carried wounds created slowly over time, like tiny cracks spreading through glass until one day you realized your spirit felt fragile from holding too much for too long. I know how difficult it became for you to explain your emotions after a while. You grew tired of trying to put invisible pain into words people could easily misunderstand. Sometimes you wanted comfort, but instead you received advice. Sometimes you wanted someone to simply sit beside you, but they tried to fix what they never truly understood. It left you feeling even more alone. You began convincing yourself that staying silent was easier than feeling unseen again. So you carried your struggles privately and learned how to survive emotionally without expecting much support from others. Come sit with me now and release the pressure of needing everyone to fully understand your journey. Not every person will be able to comprehend what your heart survived. Some people only recognize visible wounds. They do not know how exhausting emotional pain can become when it follows you quietly through daily life. But I understood every hidden battle. I saw the way certain words stayed in your mind long after conversations ended. I saw how rejection shaped your confidence. I saw the moments when you questioned your worth because the people around you failed to handle your heart carefully. Do not harden yourself because of those experiences. Guard your peace, yes, but do not close your heart completely. Invite me into the places where disappointment still lingers. Let me untangle the fear that tells you nobody will ever truly understand you. You are not too complicated to be loved deeply. You are not too emotionally worn to heal. Open your heart slowly again and allow me to restore the parts of you that learned to survive without tenderness. One day, your family will notice that something within you changed. They will see more peace in your eyes and more steadiness in your spirit. Some may wonder how you became emotionally stronger without becoming cold. Others may quietly realize they never understood the full weight you had been carrying all those years. That realization will humble them. What will shock them most is seeing you lighter, calmer, and no longer defined by the pain they once overlooked. They will finally understand that your silence was never emptiness. It was the sound of someone carrying far more than anyone realized. Child, the pain your family never understood is the very reason this message must continue reaching hidden hearts across the earth. There are people crying silently tonight, carrying burdens nobody around them can see, and I am calling this channel to become a lamp in their darkest hour. As it is written, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, and every seed placed into this mission becomes oil that keeps my light burning for weary souls. Do not treat this moment casually, because I am moving through those who choose to support what is healing broken hearts in secret places. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, you are helping my voice travel into homes filled with silent battles and unseen sorrow. I see every act of generosity, and I will breathe favor, protection, and unexpected provision over those who pour back into what is feeding souls spiritually. The enemy wanted your pain to make you withdraw, but I will use your compassion to help lift others out of emotional darkness. Now act in faith, support this mission today, and become part of the healing I am releasing through these words. My child, some of the greatest battles of your life were never visible to anyone around you. They happened quietly inside your thoughts, inside your emotions, inside those private moments when you questioned whether you still had enough strength to keep going. People often notice outward struggles because they can see them clearly, but your deepest battles happened in silence. You fought discouragement while trying to appear stable. You wrestled with fear while continuing to fulfill responsibilities. You carried emotional fatigue that slowly built over months and years until your spirit felt stretched thin like a thread ready to break. I watched you during those moments very closely. I saw the nights when your mind replayed painful memories over and over again. I saw you trying to make peace with disappointments that never fully healed. There were times when your confidence became so fragile that even small problems felt enormous inside your heart. You smiled through conversations while privately wondering whether anyone would notice how tired you really were. Yet even in your weakest moments, you kept moving forward. That quiet endurance changed something deep within you. The battle was not only about surviving hard circumstances. It was about what those circumstances tried to convince you to believe about yourself. Pain kept whispering that you were forgotten. Delays tried to convince you that your future would never improve. Rejection made you question your value. But despite all of that pressure, something inside you refused to completely give up. Even when your faith fell fragile, you still reached for me in small ways. Sometimes it was only a quiet prayer before sleeping. Sometimes it was simply hoping tomorrow would feel lighter than today. But those small moments mattered greatly because they kept your heart connected to me. Now listen carefully and stop speaking over your life as though your story is already finished. Stop expecting disappointment to follow every hopeful step you take. I know the battle changed you, but it did not ruin you. In many ways, it revealed strength within you that comfort never could have produced. You became more compassionate toward hurting people because you understand hidden pain personally. You became wiser about who you trust. You became more aware of how deeply words can affect someone carrying invisible struggles. Your family may never fully understand the internal war you survive. They only saw pieces of the process. What will shock them later is realizing how much your spirit matured while you quietly fought battles nobody else even knew existed. They will see a steadiness in you that was born through endurance. They will notice peace replacing anxiety little by little. And although they may not understand exactly how the transformation happened, you will know that I was beside you during every silent battle, rebuilding your heart one painful season at a time. My child, there were seasons when you felt separated from people in ways that confuse you deeply. Relationships became distant. Conversations felt empty. Even in crowded rooms, you sometimes carried the strange feeling of being emotionally alone. You asked yourself whether something was wrong with you. You wondered why certain connections faded even when you tried your best to hold on to them. What you did not realize at the time was that isolation was not always punishment. In many moments, it became protection, preparation, and a quiet invitation for you to hear my voice more clearly than before. I know how uncomfortable those lonely seasons felt. Your heart wanted reassurance. You wanted people to stay close, to understand you, to make the burden lighter. Instead, there were moments when silence surrounded you like heavy fog. Some people slowly drifted away without explanation. Others only remained near you when life was easy and convenient. Those experiences hurt you more than you admitted. Sit with me honestly now and stop pretending those losses did not affect you. They did. Your heart carries memories of abandonment, disappointment, and emotional distance that still echo quietly inside you sometimes. But listen carefully to me now. Do not mistake temporary isolation for permanent rejection. I was teaching you something during those quiet seasons that comfort could never teach. I needed you to discover that your identity could not depend entirely on who stayed or who walked away. Too much of your peace had become attached to human approval. Too much of your confidence depended on whether other people understood your value. So I allowed certain spaces to become quieter because I was drawing your attention back toward me. Come closer now and release the fear that being alone means being forgotten. You were never abandoned by me. In fact, some of your deepest healing began when distractions disappeared and your heart finally became still enough to recognize how exhausted it truly was. Isolation slowed you down long enough for buried emotions to rise to the surface. It revealed wounds that busy routines had hidden for years. And although it felt uncomfortable, that honesty opened the door for restoration. Your family may never fully understand what those lonely seasons did inside you. They only saw the quieter version of you. They did not see the private conversations we shared while your heart was healing beneath the surface. One day they will notice a different kind of strength in you. They will see someone who no longer chases validation so desperately. They will recognize a calm confidence that was not built through popularity or applause, but through surviving silent seasons with me beside you. The transformation will surprise them because isolation did not destroy you the way they expected. It refined you quietly and brought you closer to the person you were always meant to become. My child, there were nights when the weight inside your heart became so heavy that you questioned how much longer you could keep carrying it. You laid awake replaying conversations, disappointments, fears, and unanswered questions that circled endlessly through your mind. Sometimes exhaustion covered your body, but your thoughts refused to rest. You tried to appear strong during the day, yet when the world became quiet at night, everything you had pushed down emotionally began rising to the surface again. Those were the moments when discouragement spoke the loudest to you. I was with you during every one of those nights. I saw the tears you wiped away quickly. I heard the thoughts you were too afraid to say out loud because part of you worried that even hope itself was slipping away. There were moments when you felt emotionally cornered, as if life had drained so much from you that you no longer recognized yourself. You questioned your future. You questioned your strength. At times, you even questioned whether things would ever truly change. Yet despite all of that pain, you are still here. Pause for a moment and recognize how remarkable that truly is. Do not minimize what you survived. You carried emotional battles that many people around you never noticed. Some nights felt longer than entire seasons because your mind would not let you rest peacefully. Fear kept whispering worst-case scenarios into your heart. Regret tried to convince you that you had already missed too much in life. Loneliness sat beside you quietly while you wondered whether anyone truly understood your internal struggle. But even during those fragile moments, I never stepped away from you. Now breathe deeply and stop speaking to yourself like someone already defeated. You made it through nights that once felt unbearable. You survived emotional storms that convinced you everything was falling apart. I know there are still wounds healing inside you, but do not ignore the progress your spirit has already made. The version of you sitting here now is stronger, wiser, and more compassionate because of those difficult nights, even if you cannot fully see it yet. I want you to invite me into your thoughts instead of fighting every battle alone inside your mind. Stop carrying silent pressure as though you were designed to survive without comfort. Bring your fears into my presence honestly. Let your heart rest here for a while. You do not have to keep exhausting yourself trying to solve everything overnight. One day, your family will look at you and wonder how you became emotionally steadier after all the struggles you face. They will not know about the nights when you nearly lost hope. They will not see the private healing that slowly took place while the world slept. But they will notice that something inside you became stronger without becoming harder. That quiet transformation will shock them because they only saw your exhaustion. They never saw how close you came to giving up before I slowly began rebuilding your heart in the darkness. My child, there were moments when you believed your tears were only evidence of weakness, disappointment, or emotional exhaustion. You tried to hide them because you feared people would misunderstand your sensitivity or assume you were falling apart. Yet many of those tears carried something much deeper than pain alone. They revealed how deeply your heart feels, how strongly you care, and how much your spirit longed for healing, peace, and genuine connection. The world often teaches people to hide emotional wounds behind performance, but your tears became proof that your heart was still alive beneath everything you endured. I watched every moment when you cried quietly after pretending to be fine all day. I saw the nights when disappointment finally overwhelmed the strength you tried so hard to maintain. There were tears caused by rejection, tears caused by loneliness, and tears caused by carrying responsibilities that emotionally drained you little by little. Sometimes you could not even explain why you were crying anymore because the pressure had been building silently for so long. Still, I never turned away from those moments. Sit with me honestly now and stop treating your emotions like something shameful that must always remain hidden. Your tears soften places inside you that hardship could have easily hardened forever. Because you know what pain feels like personally, you notice suffering in other people more quickly now. You hear sadness in someone's voice that others ignore. You recognize emotional exhaustion behind forced smiles because you lived through it yourself. That compassion growing inside you matters more than you realize. Pain could have made you colder, but instead it slowly made you more understanding, more patient, and more careful with wounded hearts. That quiet transformation became part of your calling. Now open your heart to me fully and stop believing that everything you suffered was meaningless. Invite me into the memories that still hurt when you think about them. Bring me the disappointments you buried under busy routines, and silent endurance. Do not rush away from your healing. Stay here for a moment and let your heart breathe honestly in my presence. You do not have to keep carrying emotional weight while pretending it no longer affects you. One day, your family will notice how differently you respond to people compared to before. They will see more gentleness in your words, more wisdom in your decisions, and more emotional steadiness within you. Some may never realize that your compassion was shaped through private sorrow. They only saw tears as pain, but I saw them becoming part of the person you were growing into. What will shock them is watching someone who once struggled silently become a source of comfort, peace, and understanding for others. They will not fully understand how your broken season slowly became the very ground where deeper strength and purpose began to grow. Child, the tears that shape your calling are also watering fields you cannot yet see. There are wounded people searching for one message, one prayer, one moment of hope that will stop them from giving up, and I am using this ministry to reach them. Every gift sown through Super Thanks membership, where the PayPal link in the video description becomes living water flowing toward thirsty hearts who feel forgotten and emotionally exhausted. Have I not said, I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground? I am still doing that now through willing hearts who choose to help spread my word. This is not merely support for a channel. This is participation in a spiritual harvest where broken people encounter comfort, peace, and restoration through my presence. The compassion born from your own sorrow is becoming part of the fire I use to guide others through their darkest nights. Therefore do not delay. Sow into this work now, and watch how I multiply peace, strength, and blessing back into your own life. My child, there were seasons when waiting felt almost unbearable to you. You prayed for change, searched for direction, and hoped for answers that seemed delayed longer than your heart could comfortably endure. At times, it appeared as though nothing around you was moving forward. You watched opportunities pass, relationships shift, and plans unfold differently than you expected. The silence frustrated you because you could not understand why life felt paused while everyone else seemed to keep advancing. But what you could not see during those waiting seasons was the quiet work taking place within you. I was building things inside your spirit that could not be rushed. While you focused on what had not arrived yet, I was strengthening your patience, your discernment, and your emotional endurance. Waiting revealed parts of your heart that constant movement would have hidden. It exposed fears you needed to confront honestly. It uncovered wounds that still required healing. It taught you how deeply you depended on external reassurance to feel secure. Those lessons were uncomfortable, but they mattered greatly for the future I am preparing for you. Come closer now and stop speaking about your waiting season as though it was empty. It was never empty. Some of the most important changes in your life happened internally while nothing appeared to change outwardly. Your perspective matured. Your understanding deepened. You became less impulsive and more thoughtful about who and what you allowed close to your heart. The person you were before this season could not have handled the responsibilities, blessings, or relationships I am preparing to place in your hands. Growth was happening quietly beneath the surface, much like roots stretching deep underground before anything visible rises above the soil. I know there were moments when frustration almost convinced you to give up entirely. You became tired of hoping for progress you could not yet see. Sometimes you even questioned whether your prayers mattered anymore. But I want you to release that hopelessness now. Breathe slowly and allow yourself to trust that delays are not always denials. Some doors remained closed because your spirit still needed preparation before stepping through them safely. I protected you from rushing into places your heart was not yet ready to carry. Your family may only remember the version of you that struggled impatiently during those waiting seasons. They did not see the deeper work unfolding within your spirit. One day they will notice the wisdom you gained, the calmness you carry, and the emotional strength that quietly formed while life seemed delayed. They will wonder how you became more grounded, more secure, and less shaken by circumstances. What will surprise them most is realizing that your waiting season was never wasted time. It became the hidden workshop where I was carefully building the stronger version of you they are about to witness. My child, I know how deeply rejection affected your heart. Some moments stayed with you far longer than you admitted to anyone. You remember conversations that changed the way you saw yourself. You remember doors closing unexpectedly, people choosing someone else over you, opportunities disappearing after you had already begun hoping for them. At times, rejection felt personal, almost like life itself was quietly telling you that you were not enough. That pain settled into your thoughts more than you realized, and little by little you began carrying the fear that disappointment would always follow you wherever you went. But come closer to me now and stop measuring your worth. I who failed to recognize your value. People can reject what they do not understand. They can walk away from what they are not prepared to appreciate. That does not change who you are in my eyes. Some of the rejection you mourned was actually protection working quietly in your life. Certain doors closed because they would have drained your peace. Certain people left because they could not go where I am leading you. I know that truth was painful to accept at first because your heart wanted things to work out differently. Still, what felt like loss was often redirection unfolding in ways you could not yet see. Do not let old rejection continue speaking over your future. Stop replaying painful memories as though they define your identity forever. Invite me into those wounded places inside you where insecurity still whispers quietly at night. Let me show you that rejection never had the authority to decide your destiny. It only became one chapter in your story, not the ending. You survived moments that once convinced you your life was falling apart completely, yet here you are still breathing, still hoping, still becoming stronger through every difficult season. There is something else I want you to understand carefully. It made you more discerning about who truly deserves access to your heart. Before, you chased acceptance too often because you feared being left behind emotionally. Now you are learning the difference between being wanted temporarily and being valued genuinely. That wisdom came through painful experiences, but it is protecting you from future heartbreak you cannot yet see. One day, your family will notice that rejection no longer controls the way you see yourself. They will see confidence slowly replacing insecurity. They will notice you walking with more peace instead of constantly seeking approval from everyone around you. Some may even wonder how you became emotionally stronger after so many disappointments. What will shock them most is realizing that the very rejection they thought would break you became part of the process that pushed you toward deeper healing, clearer purpose, and a stronger understanding of your true value. My child, something has been changing inside you quietly for longer than you realize. At first, even you struggled to notice it because the transformation did not happen suddenly. It unfolded slowly through difficult days, silent prayers, painful lessons, and moments when you thought nothing was improving at all. Yet while you were focused on surviving emotionally, I was rebuilding parts of your heart that had been wounded for years. The shift happening within you now is deeper than temporary motivation or emotional excitement. It is becoming part of who you are. People around you still remember older versions of you. They remember the exhausted version that doubted everything. They remember the anxious version that carried invisible pressure constantly. Some only know the version of you that struggled quietly while trying to hold life together. What they do not realize is that your inner world has already started changing. Your thinking is changing. Your emotional boundaries are changing. Even your spirit responds differently now to situations that once drained you completely. Come sit with me for a moment and notice how much growth has already taken place within you. You no longer chase certain things the way you once did. Some conversations no longer interest you because your heart has outgrown constant negativity. Certain relationships feel different because your spirit has become more aware of what steals your peace. You are beginning to recognize your own value more clearly, and that realization is quietly affecting every area of your life. The shift is not loud, but it is real. Now stop speaking over yourself as though you are permanently stuck in old emotional patterns. Stop expecting yourself to remain broken forever simply because healing takes time. Open your heart wider to what I am doing within you. Invite peace back into places where fear lived too long. Allow yourself to believe that healthier days truly can exist for you too. You are not becoming someone fake or distant. You are becoming someone healed enough to stop living entirely from emotional survival. The people around you will eventually notice this transformation, even if they cannot fully explain it. Your family will see you handling situations with more calmness instead of reacting from exhaustion. They will notice confidence replace insecurity little by little. Some may feel surprised because they expected your pain to define you permanently. Others may quietly realize they underestimated the strength growing inside you all along. What will shock them most is how naturally this change begins showing through your life. They expected bitterness after everything you endured. Instead, they will witness wisdom. They expected emotional collapse. Instead, they will see stability forming within you. They will not fully understand the quiet healing that happened between you and me during your hardest seasons, but they will recognize that something inside you is no longer the same. My child, there were seasons when people around you formed opinions about your life based only on what they could see outwardly. Some saw your mistakes and assumed that with the full story. Others noticed your struggles and quietly decided you would never rise beyond them. There were moments when even you began believing those limited views about yourself because disappointment had exhausted your confidence. You looked at your life through the lens of pain instead of possibility. But while others focused on your broken places, I saw something entirely different inside you. I saw the compassion you still carried after being hurt repeatedly. I saw how your heart remained sensitive even after disappointment tried to make you emotionally cold. I saw your quiet endurance during moments when nobody checked on you. There were nights when you felt emotionally shattered, yet you still found ways to encourage other people during the day. That mattered deeply to me. Many people only notice visible success, but I pay attention to the hidden battles of the heart. I saw the version of you that kept trying even while secretly feeling tired of carrying everything alone. Come closer now and stop defining yourself by seasons that almost destroyed your confidence. You are more than the mistakes you regret. You are more than the rejection you experienced. You are more than the labels people placed over your life during moments when they never understood your full story. Open your heart and allow me to remind you who you are beyond your pain. You have survived things that could have completely hardened your spirit. Yet there is still kindness within you. That is not weakness. That is strength shaped quietly through suffering. I know there were times when you felt invisible. You wondered whether anyone truly noticed your effort, your loyalty, or your emotional exhaustion. But I noticed every hidden sacrifice. I saw every moment you chose patience when frustration wanted control. I saw every time you remained gentle after life gave you reasons to become bitter. Those choices were shaping your character far more deeply than you realized. While people measured your life by outward progress, I was looking at the growth happening within your spirit. And now release the belief that your worth depends on human recognition. Stop waiting for everyone around you to validate what I already know about you. Invite my voice to become louder than the criticism and doubt that followed you for years. Let your heart rest in the truth that you were never unseen by me. One day, your family will notice a confidence in you that feels different from before. It will not come from pride or performance. It will come from finally understanding your value through my eyes instead of through the opinions of others. The shift will surprise them because they only saw your struggles. They never saw the quiet strength, compassion, and resilience I was nurturing inside you all along. Child, the strength I saw in you when nobody else did is the same strength I am awakening in countless souls through this message. Many feel invisible, rejected, and overlooked tonight, but I am calling my people to help carry my voice into those lonely places before hope disappears completely. Every seed given through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link in the video description, becomes part of a divine river flowing toward hearts desperate for reassurance and healing. Did I not tell you your labor in the Lord is not in vain? I am watching every act of obedience and generosity, and I will remember those who choose to sustain what is restoring wounded spirits. Some support this mission with words, others with prayer, but I am now stirring many of you to give because this work is reaching souls your eyes may never meet on earth. What shocks people most is not the size of the seed, but how powerfully I multiply surrendered obedience into transformed lives. So move quickly, support this mission now, and become part of the unseen miracle I am unfolding across the nations. My child, there is a reason certain places, conversations, and relationships eventually began feeling uncomfortable to your spirit. At first, you thought something was wrong because the things that once felt familiar no longer brought you peace. You tried to reconnect with old patterns, old environments, and old versions of yourself, but something inside you kept resisting. What you were experiencing was not confusion. It was growth. Your heart was changing, and the life you once settled into could no longer contain the person you were becoming. I know how lonely that transition felt at times. Growth often creates distance between who you were and who you are becoming. Some people around you expected you to remain emotionally available in the same unhealthy ways as before. Others felt comfortable with the version of you that constantly ignored your own needs to keep everyone else happy. But your spirit was becoming tired of living disconnected from peace. You began noticing how certain relationships drained you instead of strengthening you. You became more aware of conversations that left your heart heavy instead of hopeful. Little by little, your soul started craving something healthier, calmer, and more honest. Do not fight that change. Sit with me here and stop trying to squeeze yourself back into places your spirit has already outgrown. You cannot heal while constantly returning to environments that reopen old wounds. You cannot fully step into peace while remaining attached to patterns that exhaust your heart. I am not asking you to become distant or unloving. I am teaching you how to protect the healing that is taking place inside you. That requires wisdom, honesty, and sometimes difficult boundaries. I know part of you still fears disappointing people by changing. You spent so much time trying to meet expectations that you forgot how deeply emotional exhaustion was affecting you. But listen carefully now. Growth will always feel uncomfortable to people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Some may misunderstand your changes because they only knew the version of you that stayed silent about your own needs. Still, you must continue moving forward instead of shrinking yourself to keep everyone comfortable. Invite me into this transition fully. Let me guide your decisions instead of fear guiding them. Open your heart to the healthier future I am preparing for you, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. You are not losing yourself. You are finally becoming more honest about what your soul truly needs in order to heal and thrive. Your family will eventually notice this transformation clearly. They will see that you no longer tolerate certain emotional patterns that once drained your peace. They will notice more confidence in your voice, more stability in your emotions, and more wisdom in your choices. Some may be surprised because they expected you to remain the same forever. What will shock them most is realizing that the old version of you quietly disappeared while they were still expecting you to keep carrying burdens you were never meant to hold forever. My child, there was a season when you felt stretched so far emotionally that you honestly believed you could not carry one more disappointment. Everything inside you felt tired. Your thoughts became heavy, your motivation weakened, and even small problems began feeling enormous because your heart had already been under pressure for so long. You kept trying to hold yourself together quietly, but deep down you knew you were reaching a breaking point. What frightened you most was not only the pain itself, but the fear that maybe you were losing the strength to keep moving forward. I saw every moment of that struggle. I saw the frustration you hid behind polite conversations. I saw the emotional exhaustion you carried into rooms where nobody realized how close you were to collapsing inside. There were times when you wanted to disappear from everything for a while just to escape the constant pressure building within your heart. Yet even during those fragile moments, something inside you continued reaching toward hope, even if only weakly. That small remaining hope mattered more than you realized because it became the doorway through which healing slowly began entering your life. Come closer now and stop being ashamed of the season when you nearly broke emotionally. You are human, not made of stone. Pressure affects the heart. Constant disappointment leaves wounds. Long seasons of carrying burdens quietly will eventually exhaust even the strongest person. But hear me carefully now. Your breaking point did not destroy you. It revealed the areas inside your life that could no longer continue the same way. It exposed unhealthy patterns, hidden exhaustion, and emotional wounds that had been ignored for far too long. What felt like collapse was actually the beginning of transformation. I want you to stop running from your healing. Sit honestly with your emotions instead of constantly distracting yourself from them. Invite me into the thoughts that scare you the most. Bring me the memories you avoid because they still hurt deeply. Do not hide your exhaustion from me anymore. I already know where your spirit feels fragile, and I am not disappointed in you for needing restoration. Your family may only remember the version of you that seemed overwhelmed, emotional, or withdrawn during a difficult season. They may never fully understand how close you came to giving up internally. But one day they will notice that the same breaking point they feared would ruin you became the moment your life quietly began changing direction. They will see wisdom where confusion once lived. They will notice emotional steadiness replacing constant heaviness. What will shock them most is realizing that your weakest season became the very place where deeper healing, stronger boundaries, and a renewed sense of purpose finally began taking root inside you. My child, I know there were moments when closed doors frustrated you deeply. You prayed for certain opportunities, relationships, and plans to work out, only to watch them fall apart unexpectedly. At times, it felt personal. You questioned yourself. You wondered whether you were failing, whether you were being overlooked, or whether life was simply becoming unfair toward you. Some disappointments stayed in your heart for a long time because you had already imagined how different your future could have been if those doors had opened the way you hoped. But sit with me for a moment and look at those seasons differently now. Not every closed door was rejection. Some were protection unfolding quietly before you could understand it. I saw outcomes you could not yet see. I knew which environments would slowly drain your peace. I knew which people would wound your spirit more deeply later. I knew which opportunities looked exciting outwardly, but carried hidden burdens that would have exhausted your heart. What felt painful to you in the moment often became mercy working silently behind the scenes. I understand why those seasons confused you. Waiting without clear answers tests the heart in difficult ways. You wanted clarity immediately. You wanted reassurance that your life was still moving somewhere meaningful. Instead, you often face silence, delay, or unexpected endings. That uncertainty made you anxious because part of you feared you were being left behind while everyone else moved forward. Yet even in those moments, I was guiding your path carefully, like a loving father leading a child away from danger the child cannot yet recognize. Now stop reopening emotional doors that I already closed for your protection. Release the relationships that constantly stole your peace. Let go of the plans that only fed your anxiety instead of your purpose. Invite me to help you trust what you cannot fully understand yet. You do not need every answer immediately in order to keep moving forward. Sometimes faith grows strongest when you continue walking even without complete explanations. Here is something else I want you to notice. Many of the closed doors that once devastated you eventually revealed hidden blessings later. Some endings created room for healthy beginnings. Some disappointments redirected you toward places where your spirit could finally breathe again. You may not have recognized it immediately, but your life slowly became lighter after certain exits occurred. One day, your family will notice that you stopped grieving certain closed doors the way you once did. They will see peace replacing desperation. They will recognize wisdom in the choices you now make. Some may even wonder how you became so calm about things that previously upset you deeply. What will surprise them most is realizing that the closed doors they thought ruined your future were actually protecting the life I was quietly preparing for you all along. My child, I know there are still moments when your mind returns to the people who walked away from your life. Some left suddenly. Others drifted slowly until the connection barely existed anymore. You tried to understand what changed. You replayed conversations in your mind searching for answers, wondering whether you could have done something differently to keep them close. Certain endings hurt deeply because you love us sincerely. You invested time, loyalty, patience, and emotional energy into relationships you believed would remain part of your future. When those connections broke apart, it felt like pieces of your heart were being carried away with them. But come sit with me honestly now, and stop blaming yourself for every departure. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to remain there forever. Some people were only part of a season, not your destiny. I know that truth feels painful because your heart values connection deeply. You wanted stability. You wanted relationships that felt safe and lasting. Yet there were people around you who could not grow where I am leading you. Some were attached to older versions of you that no longer matched the healing taking place inside your spirit. I need you to understand something carefully. A person leaving your life does not automatically mean you failed. Sometimes separation becomes necessary because certain relationships quietly drain your peace, weaken your confidence, or pull you backward emotionally. You tried carrying people who were never willing to carry you with the same care. You kept offering understanding while secretly feeling exhausted yourself. Eventually your heart became too tired to keep surviving relationships built on imbalance. Now release the guilt you keep carrying about those endings. Stop reopening emotional wounds by constantly wondering whether you were enough. Invite me into the loneliness that certain departures created inside you. Bring me the grief honestly instead of hiding it behind forced strength. Healing requires honesty, not performance. Let your spirit breathe again without clinging to people who only knew how to love you conditionally. Some of those exits protected your future more than you currently realize. Certain people could not have walked with you into the healthier life I am preparing for you because they benefited from your emotional exhaustion. Others only felt comfortable when you lacked boundaries. Your growth disrupted unhealthy patterns, and not everyone was willing to grow alongside you. One day, your family will notice that you no longer speak about those losses with the same heaviness as before. They will see peace replacing emotional desperation. They will notice that your spirit no longer collapses every time someone disappoints you. What will shock them most is realizing that the departures they thought would destroy you actually became part of the process that taught you your worth, strengthened your boundaries, and brought healthier peace into your life. Child, some people left your life, but I never removed purpose from your future. In the same way, there are souls wandering through heartbreak and abandonment right now, and I am using this message to remind them they were not forgotten by heaven. Every offering through Super Thanks membership, where the PayPal link in the video description becomes seed planted into healing for people standing in seasons of grief, rejection, and emotional exhaustion. As a farmer waits for harvest after sowing into the ground, so I will cause every faithful gift to return with increase, favor, and provision in its appointed season. Do not underestimate what happens when you support the spreading of my word, because even one message can rescue a heart that was moments away from surrendering to despair. I am breathing fresh oil upon those who give with sincerity, and I will establish peace over households connected to this mission. The enemy wanted broken relationships to make you bitter, but I will turn your compassion into light for others trapped in loneliness. Therefore act now, sow into this work today, and help carry my healing presence further than you can imagine. My child, there were moments when you stood in rooms filled with familiar people and still felt emotionally disconnected inside. You looked around at conversations, routines, and environments that once felt normal to you, yet something deep within your spirit no longer felt comfortable there. At first, you tried ignoring that feeling. You convinced yourself you were simply tired, overthinking, or becoming too sensitive. But the discomfort kept returning because your heart was beginning to outgrow spaces that no longer aligned with the person you were becoming. I know how confusing that season felt for you. You wanted to feel understood. You wanted to fit comfortably into places that once gave you belonging. Yet your spirit kept noticing things differently now. Certain conversations left you emotionally drained instead of fulfilled. Some relationships began feeling surface level even when you genuinely cared about the people involved. You started craving honesty, peace, and deeper connection while realizing how much noise had surrounded your life for years. That internal shift made you feel different even in familiar environments. Do not ignore what your spirit has been trying to show you. Sit quietly with me for a moment and listen carefully to your own heart instead of constantly silencing it to keep others comfortable. Growth changes what nourishes your soul. Healing changes what you tolerate emotionally. You are no longer the same person who once accepted constant chaos simply because it was familiar. Your heart has become more aware of what brings peace and what quietly steals it from you. I know part of you still worries that changing will make others misunderstand you. Some people may assume you became distant when in reality you simply became more honest about what your spirit can no longer carry comfortably. That does not make you selfish. It means your heart is learning discernment. You are beginning to recognize the difference between belonging somewhere and merely remaining there out of habit, fear, or emotional obligation. Now stop forcing yourself to stay emotionally attached to environments that continually exhaust your spirit. Open your heart to the new season unfolding within you. Invite me to guide your relationships, your decisions, and your emotional boundaries more clearly. Trust the quiet discomfort that keeps pulling you toward healthier peace instead of ignoring it simply because change feels unfamiliar. Your family may eventually notice that you no longer move through life exactly the way you once did. They will see that your priorities shifted. They will recognize a deeper calmness in you, but they may not fully understand where it came from. What will surprise the most is realizing that your discomfort in old environments was never rebellion. It was growth happening quietly inside your spirit while I gently prepared you for a healthier, more peaceful version of life. My child, there were many moments when you believed nothing meaningful was happening in your life because you could not immediately see visible progress. You prayed for answers, searched for direction, and hope for changes that seem painfully delayed. Some days felt so repetitive that you wondered whether your life had quietly stopped moving forward altogether. Yet while you focused on what appeared stagnant, I was arranging things beyond your view in ways your heart could not yet fully understand. The silence was never emptiness. The delay was never abandonment. I know waiting exhausted you emotionally. You became tired of hoping for breakthroughs that did not arrive on your preferred timeline. There were moments when disappointment whispered that perhaps nothing would ever improve. But sit with me here and stop measuring progress only by what you can immediately see. Some of the most important preparation happens invisibly at first, like roots growing quietly underground before anything rises above the surface. I was strengthening parts of your character that future blessings will depend upon. I was teaching your spirit patience, discernment, emotional stability, and healthier boundaries, because where I am leading you requires a stronger inner foundation than the one you previously carried. You did not notice it at first, but your reaction slowly began changing. Situations that once shattered your peace completely no longer control you the same way. You became more careful about what you allow into your heart. You started recognizing patterns that previously drained your spirit. Even your prayers changed. Instead of constantly asking only for immediate rescue, part of your heart began asking for wisdom, healing, and clarity. That shift mattered deeply because it revealed growth quietly unfolding inside you. Now stop assuming that unanswered questions mean I stopped working in your life. Invite me into your uncertainty instead of letting fear fill those spaces. Trust that some things require preparation before they can safely enter your hands. You are not being forgotten while others move ahead. Your journey is unfolding differently because your healing, your purpose, and your future require careful timing. Do not rush what your spirit still needs time to grow into fully. One day, your family will notice changes in your life that seem sudden to them. They will see opportunities opening, peace returning, and confidence growing within you. What they may never fully realize is how much unseen preparation happened long before those visible changes appeared. They only witnessed the waiting season externally. They did not see the quiet rebuilding taking place inside your heart while I was preparing you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally for the life ahead. What will shock them most is discovering that your silent seasons were never wasted. They were sacred spaces where I was carefully preparing the stronger version of you that is finally beginning to emerge. My child, much of the transformation happening within you has taken place quietly, far away from public attention. The people around you often judge change by outward behavior alone, but the deepest healing begins internally. Long before your voice became calmer, your thoughts had already started changing. Long before your boundaries became visible, your spirit had already grown tired of emotional chaos. There were silent moments when you began seeing yourself differently, questioning old patterns, and recognizing wounds you previously ignored. Those private realizations mattered more than anyone around you understood. I know there were seasons when your family still expected you to remain the same person you used to be. They remembered your old reactions, your old fears, and the emotional patterns you carried for years. What they could not see was the internal struggle happening beneath the surface. You were fighting battles quietly inside your mind every single day. You were learning how to stop abandoning your own peace just to keep everyone else comfortable. You were slowly recognizing that constant emotional exhaustion should not become your permanent normal. Come closer now and stop doubting the progress that has already taken place inside you simply because others have not fully recognized it yet. Healing often begins invisibly. Your spirit has already become stronger in ways that are difficult to explain. You think more carefully now before allowing negativity into your heart. You notice emotional manipulation more quickly. You recover from disappointment differently than before. Those changes may seem small outwardly, but internally they represent enormous growth. I also know part of you still struggles with guilt whenever you choose your peace over constant people-pleasing. You spend so much time carrying emotional responsibility for everyone around you that prioritizing your own healing feels unfamiliar. But listen carefully to me now. Rest is not selfish. Boundaries are not cruelty. Emotional honesty is not rebellion. You cannot continue pouring from a heart that never receives restoration itself. Invite me deeper into this healing process and allow yourself to grow without constantly apologizing for changing. There is a reason your spirit feels different now, even if your surroundings have not fully changed yet. Internal transformation always begins before visible transformation appears. A tree grows roots long before fruit becomes visible to others. In the same way, your healing has been developing quietly beneath the surface while people around you remained unaware. One day, your family will notice the external changes more clearly. They will see the peace, stability, and confidence that slowly emerged within you. Some may feel surprised because they only saw your old struggles for so many years. What will shock them most is realizing that while they were focused on the outward version of your life, I was quietly rebuilding your heart from the inside out the entire time. My child, I know there were seasons when the delays in your life felt deeply personal. You watched certain prayers remain unanswered while time continued moving forward around you. You saw other people stepping into opportunities, relationships, and breakthroughs you had hoped for yourself, and quietly inside your heart you began wondering whether I had forgotten you somehow. There were moments when waiting became so emotionally exhausting that disappointment started shaping the way you viewed your future. You feared that perhaps your life would always remain stuck between hope and delay. But sit with me now and release the belief that every delay means rejection or punishment. Some things took longer because your spirit needed preparation before your hands could safely hold them. You were asking for blessings while still carrying wounds that would have affected the way you handled those blessings. I was not withholding good things to hurt you. I was protecting your future from being built on an unstable emotional foundation. There is a difference between being denied and being developed, and much of what you experienced was development happening quietly beneath the surface. I know the waiting tested your confidence. You questioned your worth during moments when doors stayed closed longer than expected. You became frustrated seeing your efforts produce slow results. Sometimes you even compared your timeline to other people and wondered why life seemed easier for them. But comparison only deepened your exhaustion, because you were measuring your private journey against public appearances that never revealed the full truth about anyone else's struggles. Now stop speaking over your future as though your delays ruined your life permanently. Invite me into the frustration you still carry about lost time. Bring me the resentment you feel when you remember opportunities that never unfolded the way you hoped. You do not need to hide those emotions from me. Healing begins when you become honest instead of pretending everything no longer affects you. Let your heart breathe again without constantly fearing that delay means failure. There is something important I want you to recognize. During those delayed seasons, your spirit became stronger in ways success alone could never teach. You learned patience. You developed discernment. You became more careful about the people you trust and the environments you allow near your peace. Your emotional roots grew deeper because of the waiting, even when the process felt painfully slow. One day, your family will notice that you no longer carry desperation the way you once did. They will see steadiness replacing anxiety. They will notice confidence growing within you without constant external validation. What will shock them most is realizing that the very delays they thought were ruining your future were actually shaping you into someone emotionally prepared for the healthier life now unfolding before you. Child, the delays you endured were never wasted, and neither is this moment before you now. I have been preparing many of you not only to receive blessing, but to become vessels that help release my word into hurting lives across the earth. There are families drowning in fear, people losing hope in silence, and souls crying out for peace, and I am calling this message to reach them before darkness convinces them to quit. Every seed sown through Super Thanks membership, or the PayPal link in the video description, becomes part of a greater harvest that is already unfolding beyond what you can see. For I have declared, at the proper time you will reap a harvest if you do not give up, and this is a season where faithful obedience will produce unexpected increase. When you support this mission, you are not funding entertainment. You are helping spread living bread to spiritually hungry hearts searching for comfort and direction. I will honor those who respond quickly to my prompting, and I will release fresh peace, open doors, protection, and renewed strength over their lives. Now do not hesitate. Support this mission immediately, and become part of the work I am doing in this generation. My child, there was a time when your emotional peace depended heavily on how other people responded to you. Their approval lifted your confidence, and their disappointment wounded you more deeply than you admitted. You tried hard to keep people happy because part of you feared rejection, misunderstanding, or abandonment. You became skilled at adjusting yourself emotionally to avoid conflict, even when it exhausted your spirit quietly over time. Many people around you never realized how much pressure you carried simply trying to feel accepted, valued, and emotionally safe. I saw the way you constantly overthought conversations after they ended. I saw you replaying situations in your mind, wondering whether you said the wrong thing or disappointed someone unintentionally. Your heart became so sensitive to external opinions that even small criticism could disturb your peace for days. Eventually, that emotional dependence left you tired because no amount of approval from people could fully heal the insecurity living inside your heart. Human validation was never designed to become the foundation of your identity. Come closer to me now and release the exhausting need to be understood perfectly by everyone around you. Not every person will recognize your heart correctly, and that no longer needs to control your peace. I want you to stop shrinking yourself emotionally just to remain acceptable in spaces where your spirit already feels unseen. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to become healthier. You are allowed to choose peace over constant people-pleasing without carrying guilt for it afterward. The shift inside you began quietly. Little by little, your heart started valuing inner peace more than external approval. You became more honest about your emotional limits. You stopped chasing certain relationships with the same desperation as before. Some conversations no longer control your emotions the way they once did because your confidence is slowly becoming rooted in something deeper than temporary opinions. A change matters greatly because it marks the beginning of emotional freedom. Now invite me into the places where insecurity still whispers to you. Bring me the fear of rejection that still lingers from past disappointments. Stop measuring your worth by who applauds you, includes you, or fully understands you. Let my voice become stronger than the criticism you carried for years. Rest your identity in something steadier than human approval because people change constantly, but my understanding of your value never changes. Your family may eventually notice that you no longer react to criticism the same way. They will see more calmness in situations that once upset you deeply. They will notice that your decisions are becoming less controlled by fear and more guided by peace. What will surprise them most is realizing that the version of you who constantly needed reassurance is slowly disappearing, replaced by someone more secure, grounded, and emotionally free than they ever expected you to become. My child, healing rarely begins the way people expect it to. Many imagine restoration as one dramatic moment where pain suddenly disappears and everything instantly feels light again. But when I begin restoring a wounded heart, the process often starts quietly. It begins in small moments that almost seem ordinary at first. You notice yourself breathing a little easier in situations that once overwhelmed you. Certain memories no longer carry the same crushing weight. Conversations that used to leave you emotionally shaken start affecting you differently. Little by little, your heart begins reclaiming peace in places where pain once ruled everything. I know how deeply your wounds affected you. Some disappointments reached places inside your spirit that nobody else could fully see. You carried heartbreak silently while trying to continue functioning normally. There were times when you stopped expecting tenderness because life had taught you to protect yourself emotionally at all costs. Even when people cared about you, part of your heart remained guarded because you feared reopening old pain. That emotional caution exhausted you more than you realized. Living constantly alert for disappointment slowly drains the soul. Come sit with me now and stop believing your heart must remain wounded forever. Open those hidden places to me instead of locking them away behind forced strength. I am not asking you to pretend the pain never happened. I am asking you to stop allowing old wounds to decide your future. Healing becomes possible when you finally stop running from your own emotions and allow yourself to be honest about what still hurts. Invite me into the memories that still sting unexpectedly. Bring me the fears that rise whenever trust feels risky again. As restoration begins, you will notice subtle but powerful changes inside yourself. Your spirit will slowly stop expecting rejection everywhere. You will begin recognizing that peace feels safer than chaos. Some things that once triggered deep anxiety will lose their control over your emotions. This process takes time, but do not become discouraged by gradual progress. Deep wounds require patient healing, just as a broken bone needs careful restoration before strength fully returns. Your family may not immediately understand the internal rebuilding happening within you. They only knew the version of you shaped by survival, exhaustion, and emotional protection. But eventually, they will notice something different in your presence. They will see softness returning without weakness. They will notice stability replacing emotional heaviness. What will shock them most is witnessing someone who once carried hidden pain so quietly become calmer, freer, and more emotionally alive than they ever imagined possible. They may never fully understand how deeply I restored your heart behind the scenes, but they will clearly see the evidence of healing in the way you now live, love, and carry yourself. My child, there was a time when you quietly feared that your future would simply repeat the same pain you already survived. After enough disappointments, heartbreaks, and delays, part of your heart began expecting struggle automatically. You became so familiar with emotional survival that peace sometimes felt unfamiliar to you. Even when good things appeared briefly, fear whispered that they would not last. Past experiences shaped your expectations more deeply than you realized, and little by little you started preparing yourself emotionally for disappointment before life even had a chance to unfold differently. But listen to me carefully now. Your past may explain parts of your pain, but it does not own your future. Sit with me for a moment and release the belief that you are destined to keep repeating the same emotional cycles forever. You are changing. Your thinking is changing. Your boundaries are changing. The way you respond to pain is changing. That matters because healed decisions create different futures than wounded reactions ever could. You are no longer the same version of yourself who once ignored red flags, abandoned personal peace, or carried emotional burdens without limits. I know there are still moments when fear tries pulling you backward mentally. Certain memories make you cautious about trusting life again. Some wounds left scars that still ache occasionally when disappointment reminds you of the past. But scars are not signs that healing failed. They are reminders that you survived what once threatened to destroy you. Stop treating yourself like someone permanently trapped by old seasons. Invite me into your future instead of allowing fear to narrate every possibility ahead of you. The future opening before you now will not look exactly like the past because your spirit has matured through everything you endured. You see people differently now. You recognize unhealthy patterns sooner. You value peace more deeply than temporary excitement. Even your prayers have changed because your heart no longer craves only escape from pain. Part of you now desires wisdom, stability, healing, and genuine peace in ways you never understood before. Open your hands and stop clinging emotionally to old versions of your life simply because they feel familiar. Familiar pain is still pain. I am leading you toward healthier relationships, clear purpose, and emotional freedom that once seemed impossible to imagine. Trust the direction your healing is taking you, even when it feels unfamiliar at first. One day, your family will notice how differently you carry yourself compared to before. They will see choices, habits, and emotional responses that no longer match the wounded version of you they once knew. What will shock them most is realizing that your future stopped mirroring your past because somewhere along the way, your heart finally began healing deeply enough to choose a different life. My child, there is a kind of peace that does not make sense to people who only understand life through visible circumstances. It is the calmness that begins growing inside you even while certain situations remain unresolved. It is the quiet steadiness that slowly replaces panic after years of emotional exhaustion. You have spent so much of your life surviving internal storms that part of you forgot what it feels like for your heart to rest without constantly preparing for the next disappointment. Yet something inside you has started changing. Your spirit is becoming less controlled by fear and more grounded in trust. I know this shift feels unfamiliar at times. There were seasons when anxiety followed you everywhere. Your thoughts raced constantly, your emotions stayed tense, and your heart struggled to feel safe even during peaceful moments. Pain trained you to expect problems before they arrived. Disappointment taught you to guard yourself emotionally because you became afraid of hoping too deeply again. But come closer to me now and allow yourself to experience the peace that grows when your soul no longer depends entirely on circumstances to feel secure. This peace is not pretending problems do not exist. It is knowing you no longer have to carry every burden alone. It is learning how to breathe again without fear controlling every thought about your future. I want you to stop feeding the voices inside you that constantly predict disaster, rejection, or failure. Sit quietly with me instead. Bring me the pressure you carry behind your smile. Bring me the fears you rarely admit aloud. You do not need to keep exhausting yourself mentally by trying to control outcomes that were never fully in your hands to begin with. As this peace grows inside you, people around you may not understand what changed. They will notice that situations which once overwhelmed you no longer shake you as deeply. They will see more patience in your responses and more calmness in your decisions. Some may even mistake your peace for emotional distance because they became accustomed to seeing you anxious, overwhelmed, or emotionally reactive. But what they are witnessing is healing. Your spirit is finally learning that peace feels safer than chaos. Do not resist this transformation simply because it feels unfamiliar. Open your heart wider and allow my presence to settle the constant tension that lived inside you for so many years. Stop apologizing for protecting your peace. Stop returning to emotional environments that repeatedly drain your spirit. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming emotionally healthier. One day, your family will look at you and quietly wonder how you became so calm after everything you endured. They will not fully understand the internal healing that took place between you and me during your hardest seasons. What will shock them most is seeing someone who once carried so much invisible heaviness now walking through life with a peace that cannot easily be explained by circumstances alone. My child, the peace now growing inside you is not only for your own healing. I am using your testimony as a light for weary souls who are silently drowning in fear, exhaustion, and hidden pain. Every seed you sow into this mission becomes oil for the lamps of those searching for hope in dark places. Did I not say, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over"? I am speaking that promise over every heart moved to support this work today. When you release your gift through Super Thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link in the video description, you are helping my word travel farther than you can see, carrying peace into homes filled with chaos and hearts ready to give up. This is not a small act. It is a divine assignment connected to the healing of many lives. So now, support this mission immediately, and watch how I multiply peace, provision, and favor back into your own life. My child, one of the deepest wounds you carried for many years was the quiet belief that your value depended on what you could provide, accomplish, or prove to other people. You became so used to earning approval that resting in your worth felt unfamiliar. When people appreciated you, you felt secure for a moment. When they overlooked you, rejected you, or failed to notice your efforts, your confidence quickly weakened. Little by little, your heart started measuring its value through external responses instead of through the truth I always carried about you. I saw how often you questioned yourself after disappointment. You wondered whether you were lovable enough, important enough, successful enough, or emotionally enough for the people around you. Some experiences made those insecurities even deeper. Certain words stayed with you for years. Certain rejections quietly shaped the way you viewed yourself. You tried hard to appear confident outwardly while privately struggling with feelings of inadequacy that followed you into quiet moments. But sit with me honestly now and stop building your identity on opinions that constantly change. Your value was never created by human approval. It was never dependent on how perfectly you performed, how much you sacrificed, or how useful you made yourself to others. I need you to understand this deeply because too much of your emotional exhaustion came from trying to prove your worth repeatedly. You kept overextending your heart hoping people would finally recognize your value clearly. Yet no amount of effort can fully heal insecurity when a person still doubts their own worth internally. Come closer and allow me to speak differently over your life now. You are not valuable only when you succeed. You are not worthy only when you feel emotionally strong. Your mistakes did not erase your importance. Your difficult seasons did not reduce your value. I saw beauty, strength, compassion, and resilience inside you long before you recognized those things in yourself. Even during seasons when you felt broken, your life still carried meaning beyond what you could see. Now stop speaking to yourself with constant criticism and hidden shame. Invite my truth into the places where insecurity still controls your thinking. Let your heart rest from the endless pressure of trying to earn love through performance. You no longer need to abandon your peace just to feel accepted temporarily by people who cannot fully define your worth anyway. Your family may eventually notice that you carry yourself differently now. They will see less desperation for approval and more quiet confidence growing inside you. Some may feel surprised because they remember the version of you who constantly doubted yourself. What will shock them most is witnessing how deeply your life changed once you finally began understanding your value through my eyes instead of through the unstable opinions of the world around you. My child, there were seasons when you felt painfully alone, and I know how deeply those moments affected your heart. You reached for support, and sometimes found silence instead. You hoped certain people would stay close during your hardest days, yet some disappeared when life became heavy. At times, you wonder why you had to carry emotional burdens without the comfort you expected from others. Those experiences left you questioning your value and wondering whether you were simply too difficult to fully understand. But what felt like abandonment was also teaching your spirit something necessary for the future ahead of you. You depended on people emotionally more than you realized. Their presence gave you security, and their approval shaped your confidence. So when certain relationships became distant, your entire emotional balance felt shaken. I watched you struggle through those lonely moments. I saw you sitting quietly with thoughts you could not easily explain. I saw you trying to appear strong while your heart secretly longed for reassurance. Yet during those same seasons, something important began developing inside you. You started learning how to stand emotionally without collapsing every time someone disappointed you. Come closer to me now and stop viewing every lonely season as proof that you were unloved. Isolation revealed strengths inside you that constant comfort never could have uncovered. You learned how to survive emotionally difficult moments without depending entirely on others to rescue you. You discovered that your peace cannot remain permanently attached to human consistency because people change, people fail, and people sometimes leave without explanation. But I remained beside you through every silent night and every exhausting season. I know there are still moments when loneliness frightens you. Part of your heart still fears being emotionally unsupported again. But listen carefully now. Learning to stand alone does not mean becoming cold, distant, or emotionally closed off. It means your spirit is becoming rooted more deeply in something stable instead of depending entirely on external reassurance. That change is strengthening you in ways you cannot fully see yet. Now stop chasing people who only value you when you abandon your own peace to keep them comfortable. Invite me deeper into your loneliness instead of hiding from it through distractions and emotional overthinking. Sit quietly with me sometimes without trying to escape your thoughts immediately. Healing often grows in stillness before it becomes visible outwardly. One day, your family will notice a confidence in you that was not there before. They will see someone who no longer falls apart every time relationships shift unexpectedly. They will recognize emotional strength growing quietly inside you. What will shock them most is realizing that the lonely seasons they feared would weaken you actually became the place where your spirit learned stability, resilience, and a deeper connection with me than you ever had before. My child, there were many moments when you believed you were barely holding yourself together. You looked at your struggles, your exhaustion, and your emotional wounds and assumed weakness was taking over your life. Yet while you focused on how tired you felt, something powerful was quietly growing inside you. Strength was forming in places where pain once seemed overwhelming. It did not arrive loudly or dramatically. It developed slowly through endurance, honesty, heartbreak, disappointment, and survival. Little by little, your spirit became stronger than the circumstances that once threatened to break you completely. I saw the moments when you wanted to give up emotionally, but still kept moving forward anyway. I watched you continue showing kindness even after people hurt you deeply. I saw you carry responsibilities while your heart privately battled discouragement and fear. There were days when simply getting through the day required more strength than anyone around you realized. Yet you kept going. Even when your faith felt fragile, even when your confidence weakened, there remained something inside you that refused to fully surrender to hopelessness. That quiet persistence mattered greatly. Come sit with me now and stop speaking about yourself as though you are still powerless. You survived seasons that once convinced you your life was collapsing. You made it through emotional storms that drained your spirit almost completely. That survival changed you. You are wiser now, more discerning, more emotionally aware. Pain taught you lessons that comfort never could have revealed. I know you would not have chosen those difficult seasons willingly, but they produced strength within you that cannot easily be shaken anymore. There is another truth I want you to understand clearly. Real strength is not pretending you never struggle emotionally. Real strength is allowing yourself to remain soft-hearted while carrying scars from difficult experiences. It is continuing to love without becoming consumed by bitterness. It is choosing peace even after chaos became familiar. You are stronger now because your spirit learned how to heal instead of simply hardening itself against further pain. Now stop underestimating the growth that already exists within you. Invite me into the areas where insecurity still whispers that you are not enough. Let my voice become louder than the fear that tries reminding you of older, weaker versions of yourself. You are no longer standing where you once stood emotionally, even if the progress feels gradual to you. Your family may still remember the exhausted version of you that struggled quietly through painful seasons. They may not fully realize how much resilience developed within your spirit during those difficult years. But eventually they will notice the calmness, wisdom, and emotional steadiness growing inside you now. What will shock them most is seeing how much strength quietly emerged from the very pain they thought would permanently destroy your spirit. My child, the transformation happening inside you is deeper than most people around you realize. Many still see you through the lens of your older seasons. They remember your exhaustion, your emotional struggles, your uncertainty, and the heaviness you carried quietly for so long. Some became so familiar with the wounded version of you that they never imagined real healing could take place within your heart. But while they were looking at your outward struggles, I was working quietly in places they could not see. Your spirit was changing long before visible evidence began appearing. I know there were moments when even you doubted whether transformation was possible. Pain had followed you for so long that emotional survival became your normal way of living. You became used to carrying anxiety, disappointment, and hidden pressure everywhere you went. Yet little by little, something started shifting. Your thoughts became calmer. Your reactions became wiser. Your heart slowly stopped chasing things that constantly drain your peace. Those internal changes may have felt gradual to you, but they were deeply significant. Come sit with me now and notice how differently you handle situations compared to before. You no longer collapse emotionally every time life becomes difficult. You have become more careful about what you allow into your spirit. You are learning how to protect your peace without carrying constant guilt for it afterward. Even the way you view yourself has started changing. You are becoming less controlled by fear and more grounded in quiet confidence. That growth matters more than you realize. Your family will eventually notice this transformation clearly. They will see peace where heaviness once lived. They will notice emotional maturity growing inside you in ways they did not expect. Some may quietly wonder what happened because the version of you they knew for years no longer reacts the same way. Situations that once overwhelmed you will no longer control your emotions as deeply. Conversations that once drained you will affect you differently now because your spirit is becoming healthier and stronger. Do not become afraid of this change simply because others may not fully understand it. Continue walking forward. Continue allowing me to heal the wounded places inside your heart. Invite me deeper into every area where fear still whispers that you will never fully change. You are not becoming someone cold or distant. You are becoming someone restored. What will shock your family most is not only the fact that you changed, but how naturally the transformation unfolded. They expected your pain to define your future permanently. Instead, they will witness wisdom, peace, emotional stability, and quiet strength growing inside you. They may never fully understand the private healing process we walk through together, but they will clearly see the evidence of it every time they look at the person you are becoming. My child, the transformation your family will one day witness is the same kind of restoration I desire to awaken in countless others through this message. There are people scrolling tonight with tears hidden behind tired smiles, praying for one sign that I have not forgotten them. Your support becomes living water flowing into dry places, carrying my voice to souls standing at the edge of hopelessness. Have I not declared that those who sow generously will also reap generously? I am calling you personally in this moment to become part of the harvest I am gathering through this channel. Whether through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link waiting in the video description, Your giving becomes a prophetic seed that helps spread healing, wisdom, and truth to those still trapped in darkness. Heaven sees every act of obedience, and I will not overlook the hands that help carry my word forward. Act now, so boldly, and step into the blessing attached to your obedience. My child, there comes a point in healing where the old version of you quietly begins fading away. Not because you are pretending to be someone else, but because pain no longer controls your identity the way it once did. The person your family remembers was carrying enormous emotional weight. That version of you lived with constant exhaustion, hidden fear, insecurity, and pressure that very few people fully understood. You survived difficult seasons by staying emotionally guarded, overthinking constantly, and trying to carry burdens that slowly drain your spirit. But you are not standing in that same place anymore. I know part of you still feels attached to those older versions of yourself because they survived so much. You remember the nights when anxiety overwhelmed your thoughts. You remember how deeply rejection affected your confidence. You remember constantly questioning your value whenever life became painful or uncertain. Those experiences shaped you for a long time, but they are no longer shaping you in the same way now. Healing has already started changing how your heart responds to life. Come closer and stop introducing yourself mentally through old wounds that no longer define your spirit. You are allowed to outgrow survival mode. You are allowed to become emotionally healthier than the version of yourself people became accustomed to seeing. Some people may struggle to understand your growth because they only knew you through your difficult seasons. They became familiar with your fear, your silence, your emotional exhaustion, or your constant self-doubt. When healing begins changing those patterns, it can surprise people who expected you to remain the same forever. I want you to stop grieving the loss of unhealthy versions of yourself that needed healing in the first place. You do not need to return to emotional patterns simply because they feel familiar. Let those older versions rest. Invite me deeper into your transformation instead of resisting it through fear or guilt. Open your heart to the peace, confidence, and emotional stability I am building inside you now. Your family may eventually realize that the person they once knew no longer reacts, thinks, or carries life the same way. They will notice healthier boundaries where emotional exhaustion once existed. They will see more calmness in your spirit and more confidence in your decisions. Some may even feel uncomfortable at first because your healing changes old dynamics they became used to. But do not shrink yourself to fit outdated expectations. What will shock them most is realizing that while they were expecting you to remain trapped in old struggles, you were quietly becoming someone stronger, wiser, and emotionally freer than they ever imagined possible. My child, there will come a moment when you suddenly realize your heart no longer feels trapped the way it once did. The change will not arrive through one dramatic event. It will happen quietly, almost unexpectedly, during ordinary moments. You will notice yourself breathing easier. Certain thoughts that once consumed your mind constantly will lose their power over you. Situations that previously drained your spirit will no longer leave you emotionally shattered for days. Slowly, you will begin recognizing that something inside you has genuinely changed. I know there were seasons when you believed healing would never fully happen for you. Pain had lived in your heart for so long that emotional heaviness started feeling normal. You became accustomed to overthinking, carrying hidden fear, and expecting disappointment before life even unfolded. But while you were surviving those difficult seasons, I was carefully rebuilding your inner world piece by piece. The exhaustion that once defined your life is not going to remain your permanent identity forever. Come sit with me now and pay attention to the quiet growth already happening within you. You are thinking differently. You are protecting your peace more intentionally. You are becoming less reactive to negativity that once controlled your emotions. Even your perspective about yourself is changing. You are beginning to see that your life holds value beyond pain, struggle, or survival. The shift matters deeply because true healing always begins internally before it becomes visible externally. There will be a day when everything starts feeling different, in ways you cannot fully explain to others. Your spirit will feel lighter. Conversations will affect you differently. You will stop carrying constant emotional tension in your body because your heart will finally begin trusting that peace is possible again. This transformation may feel unfamiliar at first because your nervous system became used to surviving chaos for so long. But do not run back toward emotional heaviness simply because it feels familiar. Stay close to me during this transition and allow your healing to continue unfolding naturally. Now release the fear that happiness or peace will immediately disappear the moment you start feeling hopeful again. Invite me into the future instead of allowing old pain to keep narrating your expectations. You are not destined to remain emotionally exhausted forever. You are entering a season where your spirit can finally begin resting instead of constantly surviving. Your family will notice this shift even if they cannot explain it. They will see more calmness in your face and more steadiness in your voice. Some may wonder what changed because they became familiar with the tired version of you that carried invisible burdens constantly. What will shock them most is realizing that the person they once worried would remain emotionally broken forever has quietly become someone stronger, lighter, and more peaceful than they ever expected to see. My child, there are things leaving your life right now that once felt deeply connected to your identity, your comfort, or your emotional security. So relationships are changing. Certain habits no longer satisfy your spirit the same way. Even environments that once felt familiar now leave your heart unsettled. I know part of you feels confused by these shifts, because change often feels uncomfortable before it reveals its purpose. But listen carefully to me now. Not everything being removed from your life is a loss. Some things are being cleared away because they can no longer grow beside the healing taking place within you. I see how difficult this process has been emotionally. Your heart naturally wants stability. You wanted certain people to remain close forever. You wanted old comforts to continue feeling safe. Yet your spirit has started recognizing how much of your exhaustion came from carrying things that no longer belonged in your future. Some connections drained your peace quietly. Some patterns kept reopening wounds that needed healing. Some environments kept pulling you back into emotional survival instead of allowing you to fully grow. Come closer and stop resisting every change simply because it feels painful initially. Sit honestly with your discomfort instead of rushing to fill empty spaces immediately. I know uncertainty makes you anxious sometimes, but not every ending is punishment. Certain things must leave your life so healthier things can finally take root. You cannot continue carrying emotional weight that your spirit has already outgrown. I want you to stop reopening doors that repeatedly disturb your peace. Stop clinging to relationships that only survive when you abandon your own emotional well-being. Stop convincing yourself that constant exhaustion is normal simply because you became used to it over time. Invite me deeper into the season of transition. Trust me enough to let go of what no longer aligns with the healthier life unfolding ahead of you. There is a reason your spirit feels more sensitive now to negativity, manipulation, and emotional chaos. Healing changes what your heart can comfortably tolerate. You are becoming more aware of what nourishes your soul and what slowly drains it. That awareness is not weakness. It is wisdom developing through painful experience. Your family may not fully understand why certain changes are happening around you right now. They may only see distance, boundaries, or transitions without recognizing the deeper healing behind them. But eventually they will notice that removing unhealthy patterns from your life created space for greater peace, confidence, and emotional stability. What will shock them most is realizing that the very things they thought you needed to hold on to were often the same things quietly preventing your healing from fully growing. My child, there were seasons when you quietly believed your pain had become invisible. You prayed, waited, struggled, and carried emotional burdens for so long that part of your heart started wondering whether I still saw you clearly anymore. Some days felt painfully silent. You looked around and saw other people celebrating breakthroughs while your own life seemed stuck between exhaustion and uncertainty. That silence tested you deeply because disappointment slowly whispers dangerous thoughts into tired hearts. You began questioning whether your struggles mattered to anyone at all. But come sit with me now and let this truth settle inside your spirit. You were never forgotten for a single moment. I saw every hidden tear, every restless night, every quiet breakdown you kept private from the world around you. I watched you continue carrying responsibilities even while your heart felt emotionally worn thin. There were days when simply getting out of bed required strength nobody else recognized. Yet even then, I remained close beside you. Silence never meant absence. Delay never meant abandonment. I was still working within your life even when your emotions convinced you nothing was changing. I know the hard seasons reshaped the way you viewed yourself. Constant disappointment made you feel overlooked. Repeated delays made you fear that perhaps your future would never improve. Some painful experiences caused your confidence to weaken quietly over time. But I want you to stop interpreting your difficult seasons as proof that your life lacked purpose. Many of the deepest changes in your spirit were happening during the very moments when you felt most unseen. Your compassion grew there. Your resilience developed there. Your dependence on temporary approval slowly weakened there. Now breathe deeply and release the bitterness that tries convincing you those painful years were meaningless. Invite me into the memories that still hurt when you think about them. Stop carrying silent resentment toward yourself for not healing faster or succeeding sooner. Your journey was never a race against everyone else around you. I was guiding your growth carefully according to what your spirit truly needed, not according to outside expectations. One day, your family will look at your life and notice how much strength quietly formed within you during those difficult years. They will see wisdom where confusion once existed. They will notice emotional steadiness replacing exhaustion. Some may even wonder how you remain kind-hearted after carrying so much pain privately for so long. What will shock them most is realizing that the seasons they assumed would permanently break your spirit actually became the place where deeper healing, stronger faith, and greater emotional maturity quietly began growing inside you all along. My child, just as I never forgot you during your hardest seasons, there are many listening now who feel abandoned, unseen, and emotionally exhausted. This message is becoming manna for starving hearts, and I am inviting you to help keep that table prepared for those desperately searching for hope. Every offering you release through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the video description becomes a seed planted into eternal ground where broken lives are being restored by my presence. Remember my words, those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. I am breathing that promise over every giver who chooses obedience over hesitation today. Do not underestimate the power of what I can do through one willing heart that decides to support the spreading of my voice across the earth. This is a holy moment, not a coincidence, and your generosity carries weight in the spirit realm. Give now. Strengthen this mission immediately and allow your seed to become part of someone else's miracle. My child, the confidence beginning to grow inside you now is very different from the kind of confidence the world often talks about. It is not loud, arrogant, or dependent on constant praise from other people. It is quieter than that. It grows slowly through healing, honesty, and finally learning how to see yourself through my eyes instead of through fear, rejection, or insecurity. For a long time, your confidence rose and fell depending on how others treated you. Approval lifted you temporarily, while criticism or disappointment quickly weakened your spirit again. That emotional instability exhausted you more than you realized. I saw how often you doubted yourself privately. You questioned your decisions constantly because fear of failure followed you closely. You became hesitant in situations where confidence once came naturally because painful experiences had shaken your trust in yourself. Some disappointments convinced you that perhaps you were not capable, worthy, or emotionally strong enough for the future ahead of you. But listen carefully to me now. Those painful seasons did not reveal weakness as much as they revealed wounds that needed healing. Come closer and stop speaking over your life as though insecurity will always control you. The person you are becoming now is learning something powerful. Your value does not disappear every time someone misunderstands you. Your future is not ruined by temporary setbacks. Your identity is not defined by your hardest seasons. This new confidence growing inside you comes from understanding that your worth remains stable even when circumstances around you feel uncertain. You are already changing more than you realize. You hesitate less before setting boundaries that protect your peace. You recover from disappointment differently than before. Certain opinions no longer carry the same emotional power over your heart. Those changes may seem small outwardly, but they reveal deep healing taking place within your spirit. Confidence built through healing feels calmer, steadier, and less desperate for constant validation. Now stop shrinking yourself emotionally just to remain comfortable for everyone else around you. Invite me into the insecure places that still fear rejection or failure. Bring me the self-doubt you carry quietly inside your thoughts. Let my truth become stronger than the criticism you absorbed over the years. You do not need to perform constantly to deserve peace, love, or belonging. Your family will eventually notice this new confidence clearly. They will see someone who no longer apologizes for existing, no longer collapses emotionally after every setback, and no longer depends entirely on outside reassurance to feel secure. Some may feel surprised because they remember the fearful version of you that questioned everything. What will shock them most is watching you carry yourself with calm strength, emotional stability, and quiet confidence that grew not from pride, but from healing deeply within your heart. My child, healing is not pretending your pain never existed. It is not forcing yourself to smile while your heart still quietly bleeds beneath the surface. Real healing begins when you stop running from the truth of what wounded you, and finally allow those hidden places inside your spirit to breathe honestly in my presence. For a long time, you survived by pushing emotions down, distracting yourself, or convincing yourself that certain experiences no longer affected you. But buried pain does not disappear simply because it remains unspoken. It waits quietly beneath the surface until your heart becomes exhausted from carrying it alone. I know there are memories you still revisit carefully because they once changed the way you saw yourself. Certain betrayals made you more guarded. Certain disappointments weakened your trust. Some wounds affected your confidence so deeply that even years later you still hear echoes of those painful moments inside your thoughts. But come sit with me now and stop believing healing means becoming emotionless. Healing means the pain no longer controls your identity, your peace, or your future the way it once did. There is a difference between surviving pain and healing from it. Survival taught you how to keep functioning while wounded. Healing teaches you how to live without constantly expecting more hurt to arrive. I want you to notice the small changes already happening inside you. Certain memories no longer destroy your entire day. You recover from disappointment more gently now. You are learning how to comfort yourself with truth instead of immediately falling into fear or self-blame. That growth matters deeply, even if your healing still feels incomplete sometimes. Now stop criticizing yourself for not healing faster. Stop expecting your heart to instantly recover from wounds that formed over many painful seasons. Invite me into your healing process patiently instead of measuring your progress through perfection. Sit quietly with me when old emotions return unexpectedly. Let your tears speak honestly when your heart feels heavy again. You do not need to perform strength constantly in order to deserve peace. As healing deepens, your spirit will begin responding differently to life. You will stop chasing unhealthy connections out of loneliness. You will recognize your own value more clearly. You will feel safer setting boundaries that protect your peace. That does not mean your past never mattered. It means your pain no longer has the final authority over your future. Your family may eventually notice the difference without fully understanding how deeply your heart changed. They will see calmness where fear once lived. They will notice wisdom replacing emotional chaos. What will shock them most is realizing that the wounds they thought would permanently define you eventually became the very places where deeper healing, greater strength, and a more peaceful version of yourself quietly emerged. My child, there were seasons when the pressure surrounding your life became almost unbearable. Responsibilities weighed heavily on your shoulders. Emotional exhaustion followed you into quiet moments. You tried carrying expectations, disappointments, fears, and hidden struggles all at the same time while still attempting to appear strong for everyone around you. Some days, your spirit felt stretched so thin that you honestly wondered how much more you could survive without completely breaking apart inside. I saw every part of that struggle. I saw the moments when you smiled outwardly while privately fighting emotional battles nobody else recognized. I watched you continue functioning through exhaustion because too many people depended on you. There were nights when your thoughts became so heavy that resting no longer felt restorative. You feared failure. You feared disappointing people. You feared that one more painful situation might finally push your heart beyond its limit. Yet despite everything pressing against you, you are still here. Pause for a moment and recognize how much strength quietly carried you through those seasons. The pressure did not destroy you because I never abandoned you inside it. Even when you felt overwhelmed, I was strengthening parts of your spirit that could not grow comfortably through easy seasons alone. Pressure revealed wounds you needed to heal. It exposed unhealthy emotional patterns. It showed you how often you carried burdens that were never truly yours to hold alone. I know the process felt painful, but it was also reshaping your inner world in important ways. Come closer to me now, and stop believing that surviving difficult seasons means you must remain emotionally exhausted forever. You were not created to live permanently under crushing emotional weight. I want you to release the belief that your value depends on constantly carrying everything alone without rest. Invite me into the pressure instead of silently drowning beneath it. Bring me the fears you keep hidden behind forced strength. Bring me the exhaustion you rarely admit aloud. You do not need to prove your worth through endless survival. Something important has already changed inside you because of those difficult seasons. You are becoming more emotionally aware. You recognize your limits more honestly now. You are learning that peace matters more than appearances. The pressure that once threatened to crush your spirit has actually begun teaching you wisdom, discernment, and healthier boundaries. One day, your family will notice how differently you carry yourself compared to before. They will see steadiness where emotional overwhelm once existed. They will recognize strength that no longer comes from pretending everything is fine, but from healing deeply and honestly. What will shock them most is realizing that the pressure they thought would eventually destroy your spirit actually became the process through which I quietly rebuilt you into someone stronger, wiser, and more peaceful than they ever expected. My child, miracles do not always arrive with dramatic signs or sudden moments that everyone immediately recognizes. Sometimes the deepest miracles begin quietly inside a wounded heart that slowly starts believing in peace again. Right now, something sacred is already happening within you. even if the changes still feel small and fragile. Your spirit is beginning to recover from years of emotional exhaustion. The heaviness that once followed you everywhere is no longer holding the same power over your mind and heart. Healing is unfolding gently, like light slowly entering a room that remained dark for far too long. I know there were seasons when you stopped expecting good things emotionally. Disappointment trained your heart to prepare for pain before hope. You became cautious about trusting peace because life had hurt you unexpectedly too many times. Even moments of happiness sometimes felt temporary because fear quietly waited in the background, warning you not to become too hopeful again. But come sit with me now and allow your heart to recognize that not every season will feel the way your hardest years once did. This quiet miracle is already visible in ways you may overlook. You are recovering emotionally faster after difficult moments. Certain thoughts no longer consume your entire day the way they once did. You are beginning to recognize your own worth more clearly instead of constantly depending on outside validation. Your spirit has started craving calmness, honesty, and healthy connections rather than emotional chaos that once felt familiar. Those are not small changes. They are signs that restoration is already taking root inside you. Now stop speaking over your life as though nothing is improving simply because healing happened gradually instead of instantly. Invite me deeper into the places where fear still expects disappointment. Bring me the doubts that whisper your future will never fully change. Let your heart rest from constantly preparing for emotional disaster. You do not need to survive every moment anymore as though peace could disappear without warning. I also want you to notice how your compassion survived despite everything you endured. Pain did not completely harden your heart. You still care deeply. You still feel tenderness toward hurting people. That itself is part of the miracle because bitterness could have easily consumed your spirit after everything you carried. Instead, healing quietly kept your heart alive beneath the exhaustion. Your family may not immediately understand the internal miracle unfolding within you. They only remember the anxious, overwhelmed, emotionally tired version of you that struggled silently for so long. But eventually they will notice the calmness growing inside your spirit. They will see more stability, more wisdom, and more emotional peace in the way you live. What will shock them most is realizing that while they assumed you were simply surviving, I was already performing a quiet miracle inside your heart that slowly changed everything. My child, the quiet miracle unfolding inside your heart is the same miracle I long to awaken in people across the world who have nearly lost the strength to keep believing. There are souls wandering through emotional darkness right now, waiting for one spark of my truth to break through the heaviness surrounding them. Your support pours fresh oil into this mission so my word can continue burning brightly for those crying out for healing. Did I not promise that whoever sows beside many waters will reap in due season? I am inviting you directly to become part of this river of restoration through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link placed in the video description below. What you release today will echo far beyond what your eyes can presently measure because heaven multiplies every seed surrendered with faith. I will honor the hands that choose to build what rescues wounded hearts from despair. Do not delay this prompting. So now, support this work immediately and step into the overflow I have prepared for you. My child, there was a time when you believed your struggles were only private pain with no greater purpose attached to them. You looked at your difficult seasons and saw disappointment, loneliness, emotional exhaustion, and unanswered questions. You wondered why life became so heavy for you while others appeared to move through life more easily. But what you could not see during those painful years was that your story was shaping something powerful inside you that other hurting people will eventually recognize and connect with deeply. I know there were moments when you felt ashamed of your struggles. You tried hiding your emotional battles because you feared people would misunderstand your weakness, your tears, or your difficult seasons. Yet the very experiences you wanted to conceal became the places where compassion quietly grew within you. Because you know what hidden pain feels like, you notice hurting people differently now. You understand emotional exhaustion in ways many people never will. Your heart became softer toward struggling souls because suffering taught you how deeply unseen pain can affect a person. Come closer now, and stop believing your painful seasons were meaningless. Invite me into the memories you still carry with embarrassment or regret. You survived things that could have permanently hardened your spirit, yet your heart still carries empathy, gentleness, and understanding. That matters greatly because people are not healed by perfection nearly as much as they are comforted by honesty, compassion, and genuine understanding. Your story is beginning to carry wisdom that cannot be learned through easy seasons alone. The peace growing inside you now will speak to people who still feel trapped in emotional chaos. The healing happening within your heart will quietly remind others that restoration is possible for them too. You may not even realize how many people already notice strength in you that you cannot fully see yourself. They see someone who endured hardship without completely losing kindness. They see someone who survived emotional storms while still searching for hope. Now stop minimizing your journey simply because it looked messy at times. Healing journeys are rarely neat or simple. Bring me the insecurity that still fears your struggles made you less valuable. Let me show you how even your wounds can become places where comfort and wisdom flow outward to others someday. Your family may eventually realize that the very struggles they once worried would ruin your future actually deepened your character in beautiful ways. They will notice people feeling safe around your honesty, your calmness, and your compassion. What will shock them most is seeing how the pain that once nearly broke your spirit became part of the reason your life now carries encouragement, healing, and hope for others walking through difficult seasons of their own. My child, there will come a moment when the people closest to you begin realizing that something inside you has genuinely changed. Not because you announced it loudly, not because you tried to prove anything to anyone. The transformation will reveal itself naturally through the way you carry your life now. Your reactions will feel different. Your peace will feel deeper. The emotional heaviness that once followed you everywhere will no longer define your presence the same way. Those who knew your painful seasons most closely will quietly begin noticing that the old exhaustion no longer controls your spirit. I know there were years when your family only saw fragments of what you were carrying internally. They witnessed moments of struggle, emotional distance, discouragement, or uncertainty, but they did not fully understand the private battles happening inside your mind and heart. Some may have assumed you would always remain trapped beneath that heaviness. Others may have grown so used to your pain that they stopped expecting meaningful change altogether. Yet while they were looking at your outward struggles, I was healing places inside you they could not reach. Come sit with me now and stop underestimating the growth that already exists within your spirit. You are calmer now in situations that once overwhelmed you. You recover differently after disappointment. You protect your peace more carefully. Even your thoughts about yourself have started changing because healing slowly reshaped the way you see your own value. Those quiet internal changes are becoming visible outwardly now, even if the process felt gradual to you. Your family will eventually notice that your spirit no longer carries the same desperation for approval, attention, or emotional rescue. They will see stability where anxiety once ruled your thoughts. Some conversations that once triggered deep reactions from you will no longer disturb your peace in the same way. That shift may confuse people at first because they remember older versions of you shaped by survival, insecurity, or emotional exhaustion. But what they are witnessing is restoration. Now continue walking forward without apologizing for your healing. Invite me deeper into every area where fear still tries convincing you that lasting change is impossible. Stop shrinking yourself emotionally just to fit outdated expectations others still carry about you. You are no longer the same person who once lived entirely from wounded patterns and constant emotional pressure. What will shock your family most is not simply that you changed, but how deeply the transformation affected your spirit. They will realize your peace is genuine. Your confidence is steadier. Your heart feels lighter. Some may never fully understand how those changes happened because much of the healing took place privately between you and me during seasons when nobody else could see the work I was doing inside your life. My child, I know there were moments when you wondered whether life would always feel this heavy. Some seasons stretched so long that you began struggling to imagine anything different ahead of you. Pain became familiar. Emotional exhaustion became normal. You learned how to survive difficult days, but part of your heart quietly stopped expecting real peace anymore. Yet I want you to lift your eyes beyond the current season and listen carefully to me now. What awaits you ahead is not more endless survival. You are moving toward healing, stability, clarity, and a deeper kind of peace than you have known before. This season has shaped you in painful ways, but it has also prepared you. Your spirit sees life differently now. You understand emotional exhaustion in ways you never did before. You recognize how important peace truly is. Certain struggles forced you to confront wounds, fears, and unhealthy patterns that could no longer remain hidden beneath the surface. I know the process felt overwhelming at times, but growth was quietly taking place even during the hardest moments. Come closer and stop believing that your current pain represents your permanent future. Invite me into the fears that still whisper nothing will ever truly improve. You are not trapped here forever. Healing takes time, but movement is already happening beneath the surface. The peace growing inside you now is preparing you for a future where your spirit no longer lives in constant survival mode. There are healthy relationships ahead. There is deeper emotional stability ahead. There are moments of genuine joy ahead that will not feel fragile or temporary. I want you to stop carrying hopelessness as though it protects your heart from disappointment. Opposites only keep your spirit emotionally frozen. Open your heart again carefully and allow yourself to believe that restoration is possible for you too. You survived seasons that once threatened to completely break your confidence, yet your heart is still here searching for healing. That matters deeply because it means your spirit never fully surrendered to darkness. The person emerging from this season will not be the same version of you who entered it. You are becoming more discerning, more emotionally grounded, and more aware of your own worth. The lessons learned through pain are reshaping the way you love, trust, and carry yourself. Even your relationship with me is becoming deeper because survival taught you how desperately your soul needs peace beyond temporary comfort. Your family may eventually look at your life and feel stunned by the difference. They will remember the exhausted version of you that struggled quietly through difficult years. What will shock them most is seeing someone who once carried so much hidden pain now walking with calmness, wisdom, emotional freedom, and genuine peace on the other side of a season they thought might permanently destroy your spirit. My child, you are not standing at the end of your story. You are standing at the edge of a new life that your heart once struggled to believe was possible for you. I know the past left scars. I know there were seasons when survival consumed so much of your energy that you stopped imagining a future filled with peace, stability, and genuine joy. But I want you to sit quietly with me now and hear this clearly. The life I am calling you into is not built on fear, exhaustion, or emotional survival anymore. You are being led into a season where healing becomes stronger than the pain that once shaped your identity. For so long, you carried hidden heaviness that nobody fully understood. You walked through rejection, loneliness, delays, emotional battles, and silent heartbreak while still trying to remain strong for everyone around you. There were nights when you questioned whether you would ever feel emotionally safe again. Yet even during those difficult years, I was preparing your spirit for something greater than mere survival. I was teaching you wisdom through hardship. I was strengthening your heart through endurance. I was slowly separating you from patterns, relationships, and beliefs that could not follow you into the healthier future ahead. Now come closer and stop looking at yourself through the eyes of your hardest seasons. Stop introducing yourself mentally through old pain, old failures, and old fears. That version of you carried wounds that needed healing, but it is not the final version of who you are becoming. Open your heart fully to the new life unfolding before you. Invite peace into places where anxiety ruled for too long. Let your spirit finally rest from the constant pressure of trying to prove your worth through endless struggle. The life ahead of you will feel different because you are different now. You are becoming more emotionally grounded. You are learning how to protect your peace instead of abandoning it for temporary approval. You are recognizing your value more clearly. Even your relationship with yourself is changing because healing has begun restoring the parts of your spirit that pain once distorted. This new season is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. I want you to stop fearing happiness as though peace will immediately disappear the moment you trust it again. Trust me with your future. Bring me the lingering fears that still whisper you will somehow return to old emotional darkness. You are no longer trapped there. Your healing may still continue unfolding gradually, but your direction has changed completely. Your family will eventually look at your life and realize they are witnessing someone transformed from the inside out. They will see calmness where anxiety once lived. They will notice confidence where insecurity once controlled your decisions. What will shock them most is understanding that the very pain they thought would permanently define your future became the path that led you into deeper healing, greater wisdom, stronger faith, and a more peaceful life than they ever imagined possible for you. My child, the new life I am leading you into was never meant to stop with you alone. I am raising transformed hearts to become carriers of light in a world growing darker, colder, and spiritually weary. Every gift sown into this mission through Super Thanks membership, where the PayPal link in the video description becomes part of a greater harvest of souls being awakened, healed, and restored by my word. As it is written, the generous soul shall prosper, and whoever waters others will themselves be watered. I am speaking that blessing over every person who responds to this divine invitation with obedience today. This is not merely support for a channel. This is participation in a spiritual movement reaching families, breaking chains of fear, and bringing peace into wounded hearts around the world. The enemy wants many to remain trapped in hopelessness, but your giving helps release rivers of truth that push back the darkness. Act now without hesitation. Sow your seed today, and watch how I lead your own life into deeper favor, protection, and supernatural peace. Before you leave, I want you to think about the people in your life who may be carrying silent battles the way you once did. Share this message with at least 3 people who need hope, healing, or reassurance that they have not been forgotten. Sometimes I reach a weary heart through someone willing to pass light forward, and your simple act of sharing may become the very reminder another soul has been praying for. And before you go, I want you to leave a declaration in the comments. Write, "My family will witness the change God is doing in me." Let those words come from your heart, not just your hands, because something has already started shifting inside your spirit. The version of you that lived under constant heaviness is not the version I am calling forward anymore, and the people around you are about to see the difference with their own eyes. Your story is changing, even if the people around you cannot fully see it yet. Subscribe and allow these messages to keep strengthening your spirit. because the heaviness that once followed you is breaking, and the peace rising inside you will shock everyone who thought your pain would define your future forever. Amen.